What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seattle Seahawks news, rumors, updates, and all things Seahawks. Let's get into it, but before we do, I have one thing to ask. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. That's the only way to consistently see us in your YouTube feed, so make sure you do that. And now let's jump into it, guys. The Bengals still making no progress on Trey Hendrickson. Trade rumors are swirling, and it's time for me to talk about it because could the Seahawks go out and get Trey Hendrickson? I think they should. I think they could. I think it's a possibility. Look, every day we hear more things coming out of the Bengals camp, and it all seems to be the same thing. We're not sure about Hendrickson. We're not sure if this deal is going to get done. Is it going to get done? Honestly, I don't know. Look, the latest updates basically said the same thing as what we've been seeing all offseason. It's not happening right now with Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not making any progress. According to PFSN, ProFootballNetwork.com, they write this morning, Trey Hendrickson has a concerning update because the contract tensions are persisting. The Bengals remain in limbo. They continue to lowball him. Here's what Adam Schefter had to say this morning. He says it's really troubling because these two sides have been at this for so long, and yes, they're talking. That's important. They are talking, which means that a trade is still probably at least a couple weeks away, but they're not making any progress. They cannot even agree on the length of the deal right now. Forget about the numbers. As training camp gets closer and closer, Hendrickson is going to have a significant decision to make, and that'll be, does he show up to training camp and hold in, or does he simply bypass training camp altogether, the way he did with the mandatory minicamp? Schefter revealed an interesting way for Hendrickson to find a workaround with the fines for missing the training camp. He says if you skip training camp, he would get fined $50,000 a day. Here's how we can fix it. Just get traded, right? The easy fix is to just come to the Bengals and say, look, I don't want to hold out on you guys. You guys don't want me to hold out. Obviously, let's just get a trade done. And if he wants to request a trade, I think it's all power to him. At this point, I think it's all power to him to request a trade. Considering the disrespect he's had to deal with from the Bengals, considering everything that's been going on, I think he should request a trade. If I was him, that's what I'd do. The Bengals are not they're trying to lowball him significantly less than what the market would pay for a guy of his caliber. Remember, we're not talking about any defensive edge rusher. We're talking about the guy who has led the NFL in sacks for the past 2 seasons. This is a superstar among superstars, and the Bengals want to pay him like he's fine. They want to pay him like he's good, but he's elite. He wants to get paid like he's elite, and I understand it. And I think the Seahawks should do it. I mean, look, the other day, Michael Bumpus was talking on 710 Sports Seattle Network. Basically said, like, yeah, if you want to go open your checkbook and sign Trey Hendrickson, nobody's going to have an issue with that. And I agree. Like, nobody is going to have an issue. We talked a little bit ago, about this idea that, we can't spend money on Trey Hendrickson because we have to save our money to extend Derek Hall and Boye Mafe. And what I say to that is, why, right? Why should we save our money for younger players who have not proven as much as Hendrickson, who aren't as good as Hendrickson? Like, why should we save our money to sign younger, inferior players when we can just sign the actual elite player of Trey Hendrickson, right? And if you trade for him, that is what you do. It would be a trade and extend. You can't just trade for him for this season because that's the entire reason why he wants to not play for the Bengals, right? Is because he doesn't like his contract. He wants that extension and he wants it done now. And so if you trade for him, yeah, it would be a trade and extend type of a deal. And I completely understand where Trey's coming from. I completely understand where the Bengals are coming from. And at the same time, as much as Trey might think it would be nice to stay with Cincinnati, there's a team out in Seattle that could use you. And I think that the Seahawks fans would embrace this guy quicker than anything. So, again, these are just rumors, but there are people in Seattle talking about it. There are people in Seattle TV talking about it. There are people in Seattle radio market talking about it. And I think that as this time goes on, if they don't get a deal done soon, there's going to have to be something's going to have to come out because he can't just not play forever, and the Bengals are not going to put up with that either. I think a trade will happen eventually, and I think the Seahawks, when it happens, they should pounce. They really should. I mean, they should pounce and they should get in on the action before any other team does. Because you want the 49ers to get in on this? You want the Rams to get in on this? I don't. I want the Seahawks to get in on this. As soon as the Bengals come to that decision that they are going to trade him, Seattle needs to be on board. They need to be ready to go. They need to be ready to pounce. All right, let's move on. Talking about how Shaq Griffin's return will impact the Seahawks defense. Not sure, honestly. I think this move probably is just a depth move at this point in his career. I mean, not that Shaq Griffin is a bad player, because I don't think that he is. I think he's a solid player, but he's also not the type of guy who is going to make a huge impact on the defense. I mean, he's probably going to be their third or maybe even their fourth string cornerback. If all things, I mean, fingers crossed, but if all things go well, he won't probably have to start any games because they do have, obviously, Witherspoon and Reek Woolen. Although they do sometimes like to play with three cornerbacks, so maybe he'll start a little bit as a nickel cornerback. Last year, he started 3 games for the Vikings. He played in all 17, so he was he was a solid piece for them. He actually did come away with 2 interceptions for 28 yards, and he ended up with 41 tackles, 8 assists, 1 tackle for a loss, and 6 passes defended. He was fine. I mean, yeah, he was not this like superstar player, but he earned his $3 million with the Seahawks. Yeah, do I expect him to be that Pro Bowl guy that he was for us back in 2019? Obviously, no. I don't think he will be that. But I do think that he can be a solid player. I think that he can contribute. I think he can come in the nickel and play well. I don't think he's going to be a disaster by any means. And I do think it shores up our depth. I think, in the case of if guys do get hurt or if Josh Jobe doesn't look as good as he did last year in the nickel, then yeah, I think having Shaq Griffin there is really helpful. Again, I don't think this really impacts the defense as much as maybe other people might believe. I think this is definitely more of a depth move, though, so that would be my take there. All right, final topic today. Have the Seahawks done enough in their offensive revamp? This is something I see a lot online. A lot of analysts seem to disagree. I mean, we keep hearing these things, right? A couple days ago, we talked about this idea that the Seahawks took a gamble, right? We hear things like reset, revamp. They've made big changes, and they have. They've got rid of DK Metcalf. They got rid of Geno Smith. Got rid of Tyler Lockett even. They bring in guys like Cooper Kupp, who, we'll see how Cooper Kupp does. He's old, maybe you could say injury prone, but also when he's healthy, I still think he's one of the better receivers in the league. So have they done enough in this offensive revamp? I guess that's my big question, and I want to hear what you guys' thoughts down in the comment section. But for me, I'll give you my take. I think they've done almost enough, right? I think Sam Darnold was good. I think he does make the offense better. I think he is an improvement over Geno Smith. I would say on the wide receiver core, I'm not sure about. I do think losing DK Metcalf hurts. And like I said, Cooper Kupp, injury risk, sure, he is. Is he better than DK Metcalf at this point? Probably not. So you probably did downgrade at receiver. But I do like the offensive line. I think they made a good approach this year with the offensive line. I think Gray Zabel should take that unit to the next level. So when I hear things like they've made a gamble, that's when I kind of get annoyed, because I don't necessarily think it's a gamble to replace one, mid-level quarterback with another mid-level quarterback. The idea that Geno is, this massive downgrade down to Sam Darnold, I don't think it is. And I don't think it's much of a gamble. I mean, neither of those guys are stars. They both have a very similar trajectory, right? Geno and Darnold both cast aside by the Jets. So yeah, I disagree when people say they've made a gamble. I wouldn't say they've done a perfect revamp, because I do think the wide receiver core could have been improved a little bit more. I think they probably did downgrade there, losing Lockett as well. I mean, I get that he was overpaid, but I don't know if we have another guy who's going to be able to step in as a wide receiver 3 for 600 yards. I don't know if that's going to happen. At the same time, I do like what this team has done. I like where they are approaching it. I think they did make a good decision to pivot on to Darnold, and that's my take. But I want to hear your comments down below, and as always, like the video, hit the bell for notifications, and until tomorrow, as always, go Seahawks.